I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
Here it is.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
You know what else we didn't do this time, Rachel? Was be excited for this movie. Any hope that the live-action Snow White movie had to be successful, to be wanted by fans, by families, is out the window. And this is proof of that right here. Look at this. Rachel Ziegler's Snow White trailer receives massive backlash, 1 million downvotes. Here it is right here. Here's a screen grab of the trailer to this live-action monstrosity that Disney cooked up. I ain't gonna hold you. Disney, they've been cooking a whole lot of nothing lately, but get a load of this. Look at this right here. Look at that number. 1.1 million downvotes for the live-action trailer to Snow White. And once more, this is who is responsible for this right here, Rachel Ziegler. Again, this is another interview she had. Look at this. Listen to what she says.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I ain't gonna hold you. This is a learning lesson for Disney. A learning lesson for all of Hollywood, really. If you want a movie to be successful, right? First off, focus on a good story. Don't focus on identity politics. And second, when you hire these actresses, these actors, make sure that they want the movie to succeed. Make sure that the movie that they were hired for is not an opportunity for them to say stupid shit like Rachel Ziegler. Right? They need to... Didn't they used to have handlers to prevent these actors from saying stupid shit? Because, listen, this right here, once more, I'm going to show you one more time. Look at this right here. This right here, 1.1 million downvotes on the trailer alone is terrible news for Disney. Terrible. It's probably the worst news ever. And I ain't going to hold you. I believe that the only option here for Disney, and look at me, Disney, look at Big Count Izzy. The only move you can make, Disney, completely scrap this movie. Cancel it. Chop it up to a loss, right? Write it off into taxes. Isn't that what they did with, like, Willow? Right? There are many examples in the past where movie studios just said, you know what, we're just not going to release it. I think Warner Brothers, they didn't release the Batwoman movie because they realized it was just going to be a huge failure for them, and they just chopped it up to a loss, and I think they wrote it off in their taxes. I think this is something they can do with this movie, with the Snow White movie, because I don't see a scenario where this live-action movie to Snow White is successful in any way. I just don't see it. And right there's the reason. There is the culprit. Now, I don't know what type of power they gave her creatively. I don't know if they gave her this opportunity and they gave her this script and then she turned around and said, you know what, let's make a woke Snow White instead. I don't know if that was the case. I don't know if it's just because Disney, they wanted to do that from the get-go. I have no idea. But what I do know is that this movie, the live-action Snow White movie, is going to be a huge failure for Disney, a huge failure for the entire company, for the studio. Right? And no one is going to come out and see this movie, bro. I ain't going to hold you. This is probably going to be, I would say, the biggest bomb in the history of the company, of Disney. But they just had the Marvels. And as we all know, the Marvels was a huge flop, a huge failure for Marvel. Well, maybe this could be the equivalent to the live-action remakes. Right? Maybe, if they release it. Listen, families just want to have fun, Rachel. Right? Families just want to go to the movies and just be entertained and not educated. We don't want to see some nuanced take. on something that worked. I mean, Snow White, that story has been around for hundreds of years. I don't think it's not a new story that Disney cooked up. It's a story that had always been around, and they just put it into animation, and it's because it's such a solid, good, wholesome story, it worked out. But the second you try to turn it into something other than, and you turn it into some sort of activist propaganda film, right, for wokeness, it's gonna fail. There is not one example ever in the history of wokeness where you make a project that is woke, that is based on woke shit, and it's successful. It doesn't happen. You can't have it, right? But anyway, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments, and like always, don't forget to subscribe. Sensational.